There we go. We were muted. Hello, everyone, and welcome back here to another edition of Next Gen Jets. I'm your host, Connor Long, joined by my co-host over there, our guy, Chris Grasso. Chris, the first episodes of many here. You obviously know us. If you've been listening to the show, you know me from NY Flight Jets Talk. You know me from Next Gen Jets every Sunday night at 7 p.m. You guys saw Jack and Josh on here last night. Well, Chris and I are going to be doing a show similar to what Jack and Josh do every single Saturday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, Chris, super happy we're able to pull off this Next Gen Jets expansion and super happy to be with you here.
100%, man. I'm ready to chop it up and glad to be here with you.
Appreciate you as always, Chris, and I can't thank you guys enough for tuning in. Make sure you smash that like button and you are subscribed to the channel. I appreciate all your support here on the show. As always, super chats, gifted memberships, great way to support, but smashing the like and hitting subscribe do just as much. If you have any questions for Chris and I, feel free to throw them in the chat. If you want to call into the show, you could do so with the pinned comment. Now, Chris, I want to get into a report that came out yesterday from Sportskeeda's NFL insider, Tony Pauline. And I'm going to say this. Tony Pauline, Jets fans, very familiar with Pauline. Everything he says should be taken with a grain of salt, but he in his latest mock draft, he said a league source told him that the Jets are infatuated with Tyler Warren, and they're really going to go as far as they can to schedule multiple meetings with Warren. Chris, what is your initial reaction to this report here from Pauline, and how much do you like Warren as a prospect overall?
I love Warren as a prospect. I think Warren brings so much to the table. A safety blanket for Justin Fields, a guy who can help our right tackle because we know that's a hole to fill right tackle. He can chip block the end and work alongside that right tackle. Also, he just brings so much to the table, wildcat formation. So I love the pick. We need weapons. Obviously, the tight end room is barren. The wide receiver room is also barren. So I think they're going to pick Warren because Warren's a football guy. He's a locker room guy. He could be like our George Kittle. I think Glenn and Muji are going to fall in love with him. And I think Warren is what we're going to do. I think ultimately that's going to be the pick. But I feel like we need to address receiver. But, Warren is a pass catcher. So I would love Warren, but they better have a plan for receiver also.
Agree with you 1,000% there, Chris, because Tyler Warren overall as a prospect is more than just your tight end who, he can block for you. He can catch some passes. He catches passes like Rob Gronkowski. He's a great inline blocker. Wears number 44 because of John Riggins. Is a yak machine. This is a do-it-all type guy for you. And he's going to be on the clock at pick 7. He's going to be on the board when the Jets are on the clock with pick 7. I don't think he's going to be taken within the top 6 picks. So I certainly wouldn't be surprised with him. But you mentioned addressing the wide receiver room overall and that being a need. Tyler Warren is a wide receiver in that sense. He's the guy who can go ahead and make those big catches for you. He's your number 2 pass catcher if you do draft him. Just having that in mind, does that make you even feel more comfortable about the possibility?
Well, it does, but the thing is, we need a receiver who can line up. So Garrett Wilson's here, we need a slot, and then we need another guy who can line up on the other side, because then Garrett's just going to get doubled, and he's going to get no production, and we have to rely on bums to catch balls for us. So we need a wide receiver too, desperately. We need bodies in the wide receiver room, but Warren is a good pick, but like I said, we need to have ideas and plans to address wide receiver.
Chris, I know you and I are both pretty big Ted McMillan fans. Are there any other wide receivers you like in this year's draft? Whether it's a guy like Xavier Restrepo, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel, among the names that I really, really like. Are there any names you want to look out for in this draft? Maybe not in round 1, but one of the later rounds.
Yeah, a guy who could be like so you take Warren and then you trade back into the first round for is Egbuka, the Ohio State receiver. Might have botched his name there, but he's been boys with Garrett. And, he's really a wide receiver who can bring a lot to the table as, wide receiver 2 or maybe 3 depending on what they want to do and depending on what they do going here and out. But, yeah, that's a guy I would be interested in.
Anyone in the later rounds, though? Because I think Emeka Egbuka you'd have to take in the first round.
Yeah, Restrepo is intriguing. You saw what he did, helping Cam Ward out there. So he'd be interesting as well if they want to take, like, tackle in the second round or, if they take.
Chris, let's move into another mock draft that came by way of NFL.com and had the Jets trading up to get two-way playmaker Travis Hunter. He went to the combine as a cornerback. The expectation of where Travis Hunter is going to play at the NFL level is he's pretty much going to be a full-time cornerback for you, and there's going to be some sort of offensive package that you're going to have with him on the offensive side of the ball as well. So that's really, really interesting when it comes to, where he would be a schematic fit But the Jets in this latest mock draft from NFL.com, the Jets are trading up to get Hunter. Hunter, a great athlete overall, no doubt. Are you willing to give up a lot of assets to trade up for Hunter, and are you dubbing him that guy who's going to come in and really be a cornerstone type player for this franchise?
Well, not really, no, because I don't want to give up too much for him. I don't feel like it's necessary to move up, especially when you have Warren and Ted on the board. Travis Hunter is obviously an incredible athlete, like you said, but he's small. He's only 6 foot, and you wonder how durable he's going to be when he's occasionally playing both sides of the ball, and he's continuously getting hit like that. So I have my questions about Travis Hunter, and I'd be skeptical about trading up for him and what you'd have to give up.
For sure. So Hunter's someone I view as a really, really solid athlete. And I think he has the potential to come in to be an NFL player. But there is no one, I've said this before, Chris, there is no one who I look at in this year's draft and I say, boom, this guy could come in and change the franchise. You need to give up multiple assets, whether it's a guy like Hunter, even a guy like Abdul Carter, or a quarterback like Cam Ward. There is no one I look at in this year's draft and I say, boom, I want to give up a ton of assets to go out and get him because I think he is really going to change this franchise. I just don't think there's that guy in this year's draft. But staying with the topic of that wide receiver position overall, the Jets needing a lot of help there. We heard from Bill Barnwell of ESPN that the Jets are a potential landing spot for Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs visited with the division rival New England Patriots just a few days ago. Chris, do you think Stephon Diggs, Aaron Glenn, Florham Park, New Jersey, is that something that could be feasible for this organization?
Well, I really want to stress that we need receivers so badly, and we need to add biases from so badly. But I really can't see Aaron Glenn signing and Stephon Diggs. The kind of player Stephon Diggs is. He is a locker room cancer, and that's definitely not the kind of guy Glenn and Muji want to be bringing in, especially a guy who's going to complain when Garrett is getting majority of the targets. So I'm not interested in bringing specifically him in, and I do not think we will bring him in.
Oh, no, not a Rogers truth. They're calling someone a cancer. Smash the like button.
Okay, buddy.
Make sure you hit subscribe. It's completely free. Helps us grow significantly. If you have any questions for us, throw them in the chat. You can call into the show with the pinned comment. Can't thank you guys enough for all your support. As always, look, Stephon Diggs is someone I just don't want around my football team. I'm going to be honest. You mentioned not only the whole locker room thing, him being a diva, but his production last year wasn't stellar. He's someone who's on the back end of his career, someone who suffered a gruesome leg injury last year. And he's saying, looking like he's going to command about a little over $10 million for a one-year deal. I'm not touching that. I don't think the value is there overall when it comes to trying to bring Stephon Diggs on a $10+ million contract. One free agent who I think could be a perfect fit for the Jets is Josh Reynolds. Familiar with Tanner Engstrand, familiar with Aaron Glenn, could come in for cheap, very, very effective when he gets an opportunity. Chris, the wide receiver room, we've been talking about it all show, skin and bones right now. Would you be on board with trying to bring in a Josh Reynolds, 1 year, $2 million, 1 year, $3 million to kind of help ease that pain?
100% I would. I don't know if I think this was Hard Knocks. It was a scene inside of the of the Lions organization in the room deciding who to cut and keep. And Dan Campbell was saying, Josh Reynolds is exactly what it means to be a Lion. You can't cut him. He represents the attitude perfectly. So I think Glenn and Muji would be all over that. I love the idea of bringing him in, especially we need bodies, and he's a guy who is going to who's going to fight for you. So I love that idea.
Any other remaining free agents on the market, Chris, you think the Jets can make a move at?
No, not really. I think, we never had that much money, and I think they're going to just ease down, go into the draft, and just, take what they can get there and just try to get better and build to the draft.
Well, guys, I have a column coming out for JetsXFactor.com tomorrow, and Zadarius Smith still on the market, and that is my guy. I think the Jets should go after 1,000%. Aaron Glenn has said nothing but great things about him. A pure pass rusher. Actually, I want to take that back. Not a pure pass rusher, a complete edge guy, but he's going to provide most of his value as a pass rusher. Obviously, you look at what Will McDonald did last year, having a breakout season. Behind him, though, you have Jermaine Johnson. You don't know what he's going to look like coming off an Achilles. You want to hope for the best, but still, you gotta expect the worst and hope for the best when it comes to someone recovering from an Achilles injury. After that, Eric Watts, Brandon McGregor, Rashad Weaver, all guys who might not even be on the roster come week 1 of the 2025 NFL season. Zadarius Smith's someone who's not going to cost you the house. You get him in on a 1-year deal. He's going to significantly improve the Jets' run defense and also provide a lot of value as a pass rusher. Chris, how do you feel about that possibility? We'll call it 1 year, $10 million from Zadarius Smith. The Jets, after they made that signing, would still have $25 million left in cap space.
I certainly like that idea, but the way their signing trends have gone for Glenn Muji, I question if they would sign a guy that old. How old is he?
He is 32.
Yeah, so I would question if they would bring him in, but I like the idea. With 32, like if you're gonna, well, you said a 1-year deal, so 33. If you extend him, you probably get I think he'll retire around 34, 35-ish. So if you can get him for a bit longer, I think that's a good idea. Back into his career, his final bit of money for a 1-year, $10 million deal, and he could be productive for us, like you said. The run game defense needs bodies and it needs people. So I think that would be a good signing.
Appreciate you all tuning in. Smash the like button, hit subscribe, keep the questions coming. We'll get to those. Pinned comment at the top of the chat. If you want to come in, like I said, keep the questions coming. Great way to support the show. King Jamie the Mad will start this off. What says, Chris, what quarterback would you prefer in the draft to sit behind Fields and take over as franchise quarterback next season if Fields doesn't work out like we hope?
So in this draft, I don't want to do anybody. I don't want to get anybody. If we had to grab somebody, I would choose what's his name, Jalen Milroe. But if Fields doesn't work out, I think next year would be the year to trade up for your franchise guy. So say Drew Aller. If Nico Imaliva comes out, he probably will stay another year. I love him, but the realistic one is probably Drew Aller. You trade up for him next year if Fields doesn't work out. But yeah, if I have to choose somebody from this class, which I don't like this quarterback class at all. I think it's very barren of talent. But I think that if we're gonna have to choose somebody, I think we would choose Milroe. So you can coach them you can coach the quarterback from the same, because Justin Fields and Milroe are both running quarterbacks. So that's something I'd be interested in this class.
Yeah, Milroe's an interesting one. He met with quarterback coach Charles London off to the side of the combine. He's someone I wouldn't be opposed to. Someone I wouldn't be opposed to by any means. The day 3 guy I'm going after, day 2, day 3 is Will Howard. That's my guy in this year's draft. Someone who has a really, really high floor, poised as a passer, has athleticism. That's a high floor, and that's what I'm looking for overall in a quarterback. And I think Will Howard could be that guy. But I agree. I think you look for your franchise guy next year. And Chris, we did hear, although the Jets signed Justin Fields to this 2-year deal, the possibility of drafting a quarterback at pick 7, there's still a chance the Jets go ahead and do that. I'm not a fan of that whatsoever, because you think if the Jets draft a quarterback in the first round this year, they will be tied to that guy for the rest of their regime. And there's no one I look at and I say franchise guy in this year's class.
I agree with you 100%. I'm going to put a point-blank period. I don't think Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders are any good at all. I don't think they're going to be good. If Shedeur falls to pick 7, I think the Jets should trade back and not bite on any of these quarterbacks who are ultimately going to ruin the Glenn and Muji tenure, because they're going to be, like you said, they're going to be tied to them. And then, they can't just let them go after that. So next year's quarterback class is going to be much better than this one. And I think I think you should give Fields a chance to be the guy. And if he sucks this year, fine, then get your quarterback in the top 5 next year. But don't mess it up and take a quarterback that you're unsure of this year just for the sake of taking one.
Let's see. Billy comes in the chat. He says, I think the most powerful player next to the Jets could pick if he falls to 7 is Mason Graham, total beast next to Quinnen. Chris, I don't think he's going to be there. I think he has too much of a similar skill set to Quinnen too. I want to look more to a Kenneth Grant, who's a big guy you could stick in the middle, comes from Michigan as well. And I think he's the perfect complement to Quinnen because they don't have the same exact skill set. Thoughts on this comment here, and do you think he'll be on the board at 7?
Well, if he is on the board at 7, don't get me wrong, he's an incredible player, but the Jets need weapons so bad. We did not do enough in free agency to weapons, even though I don't think there's much more we could have done. We don't have guys, so we need guys at 7 who are pass catchers, either Warren or a wide receiver in Tet. So I don't think. Although I love Mason Graham, I don't think we should be going after him due to other needs on this team.
See, Billy comes back in, says, King Jamie the Man, we picked a quarterback, Travis, and we need to give him a look before we waste another quarterback. Couldn't disagree with you more here, Billy, just because Travis is someone you drafted on day 3, a flyer you take. He's already injured. You didn't see him participate in one practice. His agent's coming out. He's calling out the Jets in the media. This is not someone I particularly want on my football team. Someone who hasn't played a practice, saying the Jets sped up his rehab and that's why he suffered multiple setbacks. The Jets draft a quarterback. Counting Travis, that's 4 quarterbacks. I think the Jets will only carry 3 quarterbacks this year. Travis is going to be competing for a roster spot in my eyes entering training camp. And I just don't know if I want someone coming off a gruesome injury that he's lucky enough he's able to walk, let alone take a snap on a football field. I don't know if I want that guy taking up a roster spot compared to a Jalen Milroe, even someone you mentioned there.
I agree with you 100%, Connor. I don't think the Jets should pay Jordan Travis any attention at all, actually. So it's like the complete opposite of what Billy is saying. I don't think I never liked Jordan Travis. I don't think the leg injury. I think the leg injury is too much for him. I think he, really, if he plays, I don't think he'll play a snap anywhere, but certainly not here.
For sure. And again, this is one of the flyers that we're talking about that you would take on a Jalen Milroe. Pretty much if he was healthy, he would have had an opportunity to earn the job last year, but he wasn't healthy and he didn't. So if you think about it, you essentially waste a 5th-round pick if he doesn't do anything for this team, which could be definitely frustrating for some fans. Zachary comes in, says, keep an eye on after May 15th when we don't have to worry about losing the comp picks. Chris, how much attention are you really putting towards the compensatory picks and you wanting the Jets to not make any more moves so they could pick up an extra 4th-round pick? Do you care about that?
Not really. I don't think we're gonna make any more moves anyway, and it doesn't really matter to me. But the extra 4th-round pick, there's always guys that get picked in the later rounds that turn out to be studs. So a 4th-round pick is more significant than it seems. But I don't think if they find a guy they really like, I wouldn't not sign him to get a 4th-round pick. But I don't think they're gonna sign anybody. So we'll see how it goes. And I'm not really paying that much attention to that.
Dino in the building says, Connor, would you be against taking a running back in this year's draft? I love Tutton. He's a speedster, 4.3, 240. I'm going to give my thoughts here on Tutton. I'm going to try my best to say his name. I know he's from Virginia Tech. I've watched a few of his games. Breece Hall Tutton, running back from Virginia Tech. Look, he's a smaller guy. He's going to beat you with his power. He's 5'9", 206 pounds. I really like his creativity in the open field, his acceleration. I'm a fan of Tutton overall. I wouldn't be opposed to taking a running back, but if they do, Quinshon Judkins from Ohio State really is my guy. Again, you've heard me come on here, guys, and say I'm not opposed to trading Breece Hall. I stand by that. I don't think he's going to get a second contract with this team. If you could pick up a 3rd or the 5th-round pick for Breece Hall, you take it, especially in a really, really strong running back class. I would not be opposed to trading Breece, and I certainly wouldn't be opposed to taking a running back.
I think that's crazy. I would be heavily against taking a running back this year. We have Breece, Braylon, and Isaiah Davis.
Breece isn't going to get a second contract. Braylon and Davis haven't shown you anything.
How is Breece not getting a second contract?
Because they're not going to pay a running back. What has he shown that makes him deserving of a second contract?
Elite acceleration, elite burst. He can make a big play at any time. The coaching was so bad, you can't evaluate. You can't evaluate players.
You have to be a top 10 running back at this point in the league.
I'm sorry, you can't evaluate any players probably with the coaching we've had. The run game coach was so bad. Give him this year. Give him at least this year.
Garrett Wilson has stood out with incompetent coaching and no quarterback play. Breece Hall hasn't. Look at the season he came off of. They couldn't find a way to get him open. He wasn't able to find that acceleration, like you said. I think this is someone you use a 2nd-round pick on. Why should the Jets pay him? Would you rather do this? Would you rather pay Breece Hall and not pay Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner, or would you rather pay both those guys and not pay Breece Hall?
But that's not realistic. That's not a scenario that's going to be a problem.
It is.
We're going to be able to pay all of them.
It is.
It is?
You're not going to be able to pay all those guys, especially with now you defer all the Rodgers cap money until next year when all these guys need paydays. You're not going to be able to pay all 4 guys. You aren't. And he does not have a 5th-year option. He doesn't have a 5th-year option. So after this year, he is a free agent. If he doesn't get you over 1,500 all-purpose if he doesn't get you over 1,700 all-purpose yards, I have no interest in extending him.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say give him this year. But out of all the guys, what their names? Garrett, Sauce, and Jermaine and Breece. The one I'd be open to moving most is Breece because we have Braylon Allen. But I'm not by any means
crazy for me to move on from him.
Yes, I'm not.
You just said you wouldn't be opposed to him.
I know. I'm saying I'll be heavily opposed to moving on from him, but I'm saying that's the most realistic. That's the most realistic guy. I feel like Breece can have a standout year. this year. And what did he show that would lead us to keep him? He showed big playability, which the Jets have been lacking for so long. He can make a big play, break off a big run at any time. He's fast. If they use him properly, he's going to be an outstanding back, and I'll stand by that. People who want to trade Breece Hall.
If that's the thing, he hasn't shown you that yet.
All right, so I said give him this year. Give him this year. We're good coaching.
All right. Zachary comes back in, says it kind of feels like Membu or Warren is the pick at 7. Thoughts, or is there someone else? This scenario, Chris, I'm taking Warren in a heartbeat. I think the value is a lot better with going with a guy like Warren over Membu.
I agree. Warren over Membu 100%. We have too many needs at pass catcher. I'll say this a million times. We need someone. We need another playmaker who can catch the ball for Justin Fields. So I think there is someone else. I think that a possibility of Tet, going at pick 7 to us if he's still there. So I think it's either Warren or Tet, but I think they'll almost 100% pick Warren.
Let's see, where are we in the chat? PG Hudson Jr. in the building says Jackson Dart is like Chad Pennington, but he'll be gone. I love Howard and Leonard or McCord also. Dart is going to be on the board at 7 without a doubt. You guys have heard my thoughts on Dart. I think it would be a massive mistake for this regime to draft Dart. Like Howard, you heard me talk about him. Chris, you got any thoughts on Leonard or McCord?
Well, I wanted to start by asking a question about Howard. Why do you think he threw so bad at the combine?
Who?
Howard. Why do you think he threw so bad at the combine?
I don't know. It wasn't his day throwing in underwear. It's like saying, why did Shamar Stewart test so well at the combine, although he had 4.5 sacks in college? It's like saying, why was Armand Membu the 32nd ranked prospect in the draft entering the combine, and now he's the 7th on mock draft database's consensus big board? It's like, what if? I don't put any stock into how a quarterback looks in their underwear. I don't care. I watch these 1,800 college dropbacks, and I evaluate him based on what he's shown. He's a winner. He's accurate. He has athleticism. Boom. Those 3 things, that's what you need to win at the NFL level.
So either he's inaccurate or he was nervous at the combine. So if he was nervous throwing at the combine, how can I trust him to be?
How do you know that, though?
Well, then why was he missing throws?
I'm not in his head. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So if there's
you're telling me you're not going to draft someone because they didn't throw well in their underwear, and you're just going to completely ignore that they won a national championship. They're 1,800 college dropbacks. The fact that he was one of the most accurate quarterbacks in all college football, could hit any receiver through any window. You're just gonna say nope, he didn't look good hitting a couple throws in his underwear. So let's pass up on him.
That's not what I was saying. I was asking you why. I said why do you think he threw so bad? That was my question. Why? I
don't know. I'm not in his head. I'm not his agent.
All right. So what I think about Leonard or McCord, I don't like any of the quarterbacks at all. I think the only one I'd take a chance on in the later rounds is Milrow, and certainly not take any quarterback at 7, God forbid.
And fellas, there's a surefire franchise quarterback at the top of this draft. He's worth the trade up, and AG will get him. You'll see.
And Vallette is a huge Ward truther. I love him, but Ward is not the guy, man. Ward is not the guy.
Billy, about the Jets speeding up Travis' rehab, how do we know he isn't telling the truth? The last regime was pretty incompetent. Well, here's why, Billy SBC. Here's the reason behind this. The Jets had 2 quarterbacks ahead of Jordan Travis, arguably even 3, with Adrian Martinez showing some preseason flashes. Aaron Rodgers didn't miss a snap due to injury. Tyrod Taylor was just sitting in the wings behind him in case he had to miss 1 snap. One of, if not the most serviceable backup quarterback in all of football. And then you even had Adrian Martinez. That's why, because going into it, the Jets knew that he was going to be in for a full redshirt season, and that's why I know they did not speed up his recovery.
Yeah, I also don't want him and his agent playing the blame game. That tells me a lot about their character. I mean, I don't want a guy like that on my team. I just don't think Travis is good anyway, so just let him go. You don't pay him any attention.
Appreciate you all tuning in. Make sure you smash the like button. You are subscribed to the channel. Completely free. Helps us grow significantly. Keep the questions coming. We'll get to those. Call and pin comment at the top of the chat. Joey in the building. I'm seeing articles that AVT is trade bait. I'm not trading AVT, Chris. I like him. He's a all-pro guard when he is able to stay healthy. He's this team's starting guard next season. Why even why? This is what I don't get. The Jets have an offensive line in place, and now people are talking about using it as trade bait, just trying to tear it down and rebuild it for the 20th time in the past 15 years. I don't get it. I really, really don't.
I 100% agree. It's like people don't want to see the Jets have a good O-line. I'd ask, where are you seeing these articles? Because what source is telling?
It was Bleacher Report. I saw it earlier today. They don't.
That's crazy. People really do want the Jets to suck.
Rover in the building. Does anyone know why the Jets don't have the 39th pick? How do we slide down 3 picks in the second? I don't know because I knew when the draft order initially came out in the offseason, they had the 42nd pick, but they did pick up an extra 73rd pick, which they had, but us fans had no idea that the Jets had it because we were all confused with Devontae Adams trade, but Jets have an early third-round pick now, which is great. Rover again, Breece only has trade value this year. Couldn't agree more. If you don't feel comfortable paying him now, deal him.
Couldn't disagree more, but
Why?
he has big playability, man. You don't get rid of players like that.
If he's going to command top running back money, you do, because he hasn't shown he's a top running back.
This year he's going to show he's a top running back. So let's wait till after this year's over when he has a great year.
Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn have a floor of 9 wins, or you think they're going to win 9 games year one? And
I don't think they have a floor of 9 wins. When did I say that? Stop putting words in my mouth.
No. Don't make
me. I think they're going 9-8, but I don't think that's the floor, buddy.
What's the floor?
The floor. I think the floor is 4-13. That's the floor. But the ceiling, I think the ceiling is 11-6 or 10-7.
The ceiling's 9-8 for me. The floor is 3-14.
If we go 3-14, I'm going to be extremely concerned with Glenn and Muji. I think they're like.
Why are you concerned? They have a quarterback who hasn't shown anything yet. They pretty much just tore it down. It's year one of a retool. Why would you be concerned?
How did they tear it down? They still have so many pillars on this team. If Aaron Glenn can't get at least 6 wins out of this team, I'm going to be concerned because there's so much talent. We need a coach who can maximize the talent.
You want to know how they tore it down? They got rid of their arguably number 1 wide receiver. They got rid of their cornerback 2. They got rid of their captain on the defensive side of the ball. I'm not saying these things are bad moves. They got rid of the ayahuasca boy. I'm not saying these are bad moves, but these are guys who, in a win-now mode, gave you the best chance to win. You know, you have a whole new coaching staff in-house. I think it's crazy to say I'm not 4-13, 3-14. 4-13, 3-14. I think is a fair floor. I think they're gonna go 7-10.
All I'm gonna say is that they better at least. I'll be okay if they go 7-10. If anything less than that, I'm concerned.
Why are you concerned though? You're acting.
There's too much talent on this team for him for Aaron Glenn not to be able to maximize it and get some wins and get their players to play hard. That's what I'm looking for this year. And I think Justin Fields.
You can be a scrappy team and not win 10 games and not win 7 games. Like we see it all the time.
If we lose a bunch of 1-score games and go 7-10, fine. But
that's what they did last year. That's what they did last year with Rodgers, and that's the whole thing. I don't even want to get too deep into Rodgers, but you didn't bring in Aaron Rodgers to kick field goals. You didn't bring in Aaron Rodgers to play defense. You brought him in to score game-winning touchdowns. We heard this every single time. This is why you have Aaron Rodgers. This is why you have Aaron Rodgers. 1-6.
He's hurt. Coaching should have benched him after the Minnesota game.
He's hurt. He beat 3 bottom 10 defenses. So how do you not bring him back?
How do you not bring him back? That's right. How do you not bring him back? Gives you the best chance to win next year.
Okay. I'm not even going to waste energy. Billy, scouts don't make decisions based on the combine. It's all about game video. Agree 1,000% here, Chris.
Listen, ultimately, yes, it's about tape. And I'm saying all I was saying is why did he throw so bad at the combine? It's something to think about.
Rovers says trade Breece for tight end Michael Mayer. I don't think they're going to do that, but I wouldn't be open to acquiring Mayer. I just don't want to give up Breece for him. I'd give up Breece for a 3 and a 5, though, in a heartbeat.
Oh, my God. If you're going to sell me on Breece, you're getting at least a second.
No, you're not. He was drafted in the 2nd round. He has not played up to the expectation of a 2nd-round pick. You're not getting a 2nd-round pick for a running back. You also have to keep in mind, Chris, the overall market value. The overall market value at his position. This is a position that not a lot of NFL teams want to pay anymore. Not a position that a lot of NFL teams want to trade for anymore. A 3 and a 5 is more than generous for someone who has played like a 3rd or 4th round pick throughout his career.
I think that's crazy. I'm praying that they don't deal Breece. He's going to have a good year this year, so it's not fair to talk about trading him. Maybe at midseason if he's having a dull year, then you trade him and hand the reins to Braylon Allen. But until then, you're not convincing me that Breece Hall isn't going to pop off this year.
Billy, Jets get their draft and free agency right. They could make a lower wild card seed.
What I've been saying, baby.
Did they get free agency right, though? Because you're gambling on a...
What else do you want them to do?
What? I'm not saying I wanted them to do anything else. I'm just saying they got worse. Like you can't deny that.
Well, they got worse not because of the signings they made were bad. It's because we got rid of Rodgers, Devontae, and other guys.
I mean, even if you look at the signings, though, these are all bargain bin names who have not proved anything at the NFL level.
I
Point to
get it.
me, point to me a signing that has solidified themselves as a respectable, player at their position group around the league. Like, name me one of those players.
I think Andre Cisco can come in and solidify the.
He can. That's the thing, though. He can come in and potentially.
He's played well before. Cisco has played well before.
He had an okay season. His top season, he was an average safety in that league, and he's the best Jets free agent signing, and they gave him $10 million. They didn't get free agency right.
Well, they didn't get it. They didn't do the. I'd say it's hard to evaluate until when you see how they all actually play out. I do think they mostly focus on cheap depth guys this season, but I don't want them going out and splashing on big names because it's never worked for us anyway. We never had that. We didn't have that much money, and this class was never stacked. So I'm not bashing Muji or Glenn.
You said they didn't have that much money. They were top 10 in cap space in the league. They had $55 million to spend.
Still, who are they spending it on? Stephon Diggs, a diva? No, thank you.
Who are they spending? I mean, they got Justin Fields. I would have Javon Holland, 3 years, $36 million.
Maybe he's not a Glenn player. Maybe Javon Holland is not.
Maybe he's not a good player. He's coming off his.
No, I said maybe he's not an Aaron Glenn player.
Oh, an Aaron Glenn player. Thank God.
I didn't. I'm not that dumb, buddy.
I would have paid him $2 million more a year than Andre Cisco, without a doubt. What has Cisco shown?
Maybe I'm not. I have not watched tape on Holland, but maybe Glenn and Muji turned on his tape and they didn't like his attitude. They didn't like the way he played. So I don't know. I'm not in the Jets room, but I'm putting my trust in these guys. I feel like they're going to be until proven otherwise. They have my benefit of the doubt.
King Jamie, if my GM retires, can you please take the job? You know more about football than most people who are employed in the NFL. King Jamie, appreciate you as always. I don't think Brett Veach is going anywhere anytime soon, but if he needs a right-hand man, I'm in line. But King Jamie, I appreciate all your support. As always, appreciate you all tuning in. Smash the like. Hit subscribe. It's completely free. We're going to wrap up here soon, so last chance to get your final questions, comments, thoughts in the chat. Chris, you got any final thoughts you want to share here before we wrap up on the show?
Yeah, I want to explain the reason for some of my optimism and my idea that the Jets are going 9-8. So I think the Justin Fields signing is the best thing they could have possibly done, but like after in the post Rodgers era to start us off here. I like the contract. I liked his upside. He's extremely athletic. When have we seen the Jets with an athletic quarterback? I mean, Wilson could run, but he was never like a threat running. Justin Fields is a threat running, and he has a good arm. He can throw over the middle. He's dangerous in play action. Again, I think we're going to get that run game going. The option with Garrett and The option with Breece and Fields is going to be deadly. Garrett and Fields have that connection from college. So and there's pillars on this team. And if Glenn is a good coach, we lower the penalties and our kicking game is better. How can we not be scrappy and put together a 9-win season and make the wild card? And there is benefits to making the wild card. And I think a misconception within this fan base is that it's either all in, you have a Super Bowl roster and you're going all in, or you're tanking. There's that happy medium that's like, it's okay to be scrappy and it's good. Making the playoffs is good for this team. I don't want people to say, oh, just because you don't have a Super Bowl team, tank. That doesn't make any sense. Making the playoffs is extremely important, especially for us who hasn't made it in so long. We'll develop so much confidence in this regime. And, Justin Fields, I think, people are not looking at him highly enough. Justin Fields has a chance to come in here and be the future of the franchise if he puts up good numbers this year. And Fields is still super young. He has so much upside. I think people are just saying, oh, Fields is just a bridge guy. He'll just be here for 1 year. I think they gave him a 2-year deal that I feel like they're going to be extending him to long-term after those 2 years are up. I feel like Fields can really come in here and do some damage if he works out some of the bumps and bruises, which I think I'm optimistic that he will, especially when Tyrod comes in. He helps him fix some of his issues that he has. So yeah, I'm optimistic about this coming season. I feel like if we have a good draft and get some more pass catchers and weapons, that we will be fine next year.
Appreciate you all tuning in. Hit the like, hit subscribe. Chris, first episode in the books. Appreciate it as always, and we'll be back next week at 9:30.
Yeah, man, it's fun as always. Can't wait for next week.
Appreciate it as always. Next Gen Jets, the original show with Chris, Jack, and I on tomorrow, 7 p.m. EST. So stay tuned for that. Appreciate all your support here on the show. Can't thank you enough. As always, I'm your host, Connor Long, alongside my co-host, Chris Grasso. Appreciate you all tuning in. And as always, JTS, Jets.
Jets.